Shalom. Before I begin, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shah, Ba'asham, Rakakadash, and I'm honest to the apostles and elders, great millstone, and Shalom to the eye King teaching his word, throughout the four corners, and true sincerity. I'm back with another lesson. The Spirit by Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shalom, to be edifying unto the elect. And the topic of this lesson, as you can see, protests, which we know are, alright, uproars of the people. Okay. Before I get into the lesson, the true name of God is Yahweh, which means He is. It's not Yahuwah. Alright, it's Yahweh, which means He is. The name of His Son is Yahweh Shai. Alright, it's not Jesus. Alright, it's Yahweh Shai, which means He saves or He delivers. Alright. Lord has sent out His men, His prophets, those guys that you see, those so-called black men, alright, Latino, Native American men, or just men in general, are preaching in your downtown areas, preaching a return, alright, of Yahweh Shai, alright, telling you of the incoming signs to look for before the day of the Lord. And these protests, are a major sign, of what's to come. This is anti-Trump, no king's protest organizers target Minneapolis, St. Paul for next flagship demonstration. We know we had this earlier, or late last year, right? Going into the no kings, protest dealing with Trump. All right, the scriptures talk about these, different, protests. Again, it's called uproars of the people, or as mentioned in the Bible. All right, but let's get context of, the No Kings protest. It says organizers of the nationwide No Kings protest movement are turning their attention to the Minneapolis State Paul as the site of their next major demonstration, with plans for a No Kings 3 march on March 28th. All right, so they're planning another, protest. All right, and they're even protesting now for, dealing with this situation with, Alex Peretti, how these ICE agents basically murdered the man in broad daylight. Okay, him being a U.S. citizen. And we've been talking about how Trump was going to be a cruel lord or cruel king, basically a dictator when he gets into office. That the Lord's going to give the Egyptians, which are these modern day Americans, to this cruel lord. All right, because we are living at the end times, and cruel lord is needed. All right, to usher in, the martial law. Okay, the MOTB, and to usher in these elites' new world order. Okay, he has to make it seem like there's a problem, to provide then a solution, no matter how he does it. It says the group behind the protest, the liberal grassroots organization Indivisible, said the upcoming event will include coordinated rallies across the country, with the Twin Cities serving as the flagship location. The push for a spring demonstration in Minnesota followed months of heightened activism in the state linked to federal immigration enforcement operations and 2 fatal shootings that have drawn widespread attention from both activists and the media. So, these things are, pre-planned. All right, Trump or these elites that's in the know, they're doing these things on purpose. All right. Causing things like, ICE agents to, kill, all right, civilians, having immunity, all right, them being able to do these certain things is ultimately to, for Trump to, enact, his Insurrection Act, which is basically martial law on these Americans. All right, they have the grounds, to do certain things. We're not falling, all right, for Satan's, schemes and strategies, for his wiles, like it says in Corinthians, roughly paraphrasing it. All right, but we see behind it. But, no matter what this devil tries to plan, no matter what he thinks is going to happen, we know that prophecy at the end of the day will come to pass. All right, even though this devil thinks he's, going, according to his plan, everything will go according to the Lord's will, because that's how the Lord set it up to be. All right, but, get in the scriptures. 2 Edges 9, start at 1. It says, he answered me then and said, measured out a time diligently in itself. All right, so our job as, Israelites, and also the prophets, Israelites, All right, is to measure the time. All right, see what's going on in the world and, see how it's matching up with the scriptures. All right, because again, Yahweh Shai is about to make his return, and he said he was going to have certain signs like earthquakes in diverse places, pestilences, famines, okay, upwards of the people, weather, visiting people with storms and tempests. All these are signs from the Lord. Okay. It says, when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So the Lord is basically visiting the world through these different events. Okay, storms, pestilences, famines. Okay, it's to give our people heads up. And not only even that, signs in the moon, eclipses, lunar eclipses, all right, blood moons, all right, signs in the heavens. Okay. It says, therefore, when thou shalt hear, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and upwards of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. So, these things were mentioned in the past of the end. All right, we're living in the last days. Okay. It says, for like as all that is made in the world had a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest, and we're living in the end. How do we know? Again, signs. Okay, signs. All right, it's like we're getting closer and closer, to the day. As you see, these things start to increase, rapidly, or they're happening more. They're happening more, like day after day, because every day is something. All right, we're living in times of Jacob's trouble. So more things are starting to happen, day after day after day. All right, till it gets to a point where, people are just going to be out there, basically it's going to be a full civil war. All right. It's funny, all right, as we live in the times of Jacob's trouble, how you have these ICE agents out here, now you have people protesting, and it's more info, on online, how you have, people, even groups, talking about if, ICE pulls up on them. All right, they have AK-47s, rifles, all right, to fight back. Okay, so everything is, again, moving according to plan. All right, everything is moving according, to prophecy. All right, there's nothing that can be done. All right, I want to get another precept in Isaiah, because the Lord, he put us on games. That's why we're not surprised when we see, all right, how this Edomite, moves. As Isaiah 42:9, it says, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things will I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Right? Again, the signs. The Lord told us that we was going to see certain things like this. Jacob's trouble. All right? Upwards of the people. All right? The Lord told us. It's just our job to, see it, all right, and to bring it out and to warn our people, because that's our job as, prophets, as men of the Lord, is to teach our people and to warn them of what's to come. We just can't be out there, seeing all this thing happen and just keep our mouths shut. The Lord gave us, myself, a gift to teach. And so we got to teach. All right. When the Spirit is on us to teach, you got to teach. You got to bring it out. You can't hold back. We can't hold back. All right, especially in the times that we living in. We almost out this this captivity. All right. Ezekiel chapter 3. Starting at 17, it says, Son of man, I've made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. So we're sent to give a warning to our people. So when you see the men out there that's wearing garments, teaching the word, screaming at the top of their lungs, we're not doing this for fun. Yeah, it is fun. All right, it's fun in it. All right, but we're doing this again to warn you, because of the danger that's coming. All right, we're telling you how this devil is moving. We see behind it, and now we bringing it up. All right, it says, when I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from his wicked way to save his life. But the same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thine hand. So, again, all right, the Lord is telling us to do a job that, prophesying to our people. If they don't want to repent, the Lord's going to kill them. And if we don't do that, all right, not only is that man or woman that didn't take heed gonna die, but the blood is gonna be on our hands as well. Because again, the Lord put a spread on us to teach. You can't hold back our sword. All right. Lord gave us a job to do. We gotta flip our talents. We gotta work. It says, if thou warrant the wicked, and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. So if we telling you, all right, Jake, if we telling you, all right, of what's to come, telling you of the prophecies that's to come, the famines, the pestilences, how the devil's gonna move like a madman, sparing none, and we tell you that and you still don't take heed, then that's on you, but the blood is off our hands. All right. It says again, when a righteous man doth turn from his righteousness and commit iniquity, and I lay a stumbling block before him, he shall die. Because thou hast not given him warning, he shall die in his sin, and his righteousness which he hath done shall not be remembered, but his blood will occur at thine hand. So, we gotta warn our people. Okay, we gotta warn our people, especially when they going off. All right. At all times. But back to 2nd Ezra 9. 6, it says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. All right. It says, and everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed. So for us to be able to escape, what's to come, because it's only gonna get worse. All right, they just killed a U.S. citizen. This supposed to be an immigration task force. Now they're killing U.S. citizens, and they killed an Edomite. All right, they killed an Edomite. So Jake, what does that mean for you? All right, and they itching to kill niggas. All right, they snatching Jake up and they just killed the Edomite, and it's only gonna get worse as you see things. Progressively get worse. We just getting closer and closer to the day, of the Lord. All right, because this is unheard of. Killing an Edomite. All right, he was a veteran. He worked in the hospital and they killed him. All right. It says, and that's why we need the Lord. All right, so the only way to get delivered is by doing His work and keeping the faith all the way to the end. It says, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land within my borders. For I sanctified them for me from the beginning. So that's talking about, the elect. All right, because they're going to be the ones, all right, seeking the Lord, doing the works, keeping the faith. All right, because this, at the end of the day, is about predestination. If you're not meant to be saved, you won't be saved. You're just part of 2/3. And you go hit with a nuke. It's as simple as that. It says, they shall be in pitiful case, which now have abused my words. And they that have cast them away despitefully shall dwell in torments. For such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me. And they that have loathed my law while they had yet liberty. And when as yet place of repentance was opened unto them, understood not but despised it. This is talking about our people. All right, the Lord's giving you a way to get delivered. Just imagine, like just put this in an example, right? A stock, right, is at $1, and you have insider information for you to invest into that stock, then it skyrockets and hits $100. All right, you just missed out in a opportunity, all right, to double your money, all right, or even more than double your money, to basically, gain. All right, but your mindset is so, you so stiff neck and you so stiff-hearted that you don't want to take heed to the information. This is what the Lord is presenting Jake a way, basically survive what's to come. Because you just gonna be niggas out there that wish that they took heed. Okay, but the gates of mercy is slowly closing again as things progressively get worse. Killing an Edomite, can you imagine that? These crackers, they not playing no more. All right, the Lord is again he's raising up the level. All right. It says the same must know after death by pain. So, the same must know after death by pain, because you didn't want to take heed. All right. With that alone, this lesson, quick lesson was edifying. I want to give our praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem El-Shah, Ba'ashem Chakwadash, and the honor to the apostles and elders, great mills, doing shalom to the Hakim, teaching his word out of four corners, and true sincerity, alchemy with Adiyah.